Mike Gill, State of Corruption. You know what I'm going to give you today? The Attorney General's office. You know how I've told you that they are the protector of all the corrupt agencies within your state? You go after the banking department, you deal with them. You go after the DRA, you deal with them. That is the control of the corruption, and those are the departments that they make money on. I'm going to give you two clear examples of what's going on right now and how they're preventing me to giving you the truth. All right? But before we do this, let's just give you the definition of the Attorney General's office. I'll put it up and I'll post it. In each 50 states and the territories is the chief legal advisor to the state government and the state chief law enforcement officer. In some states, the Attorney General serves as the head of the State Department of Justice. Okay? So this is the head law enforcement agency in the state. So if you can control and own that, you could protect the corrupt and the corruption going on in the state. Let's take a look at this. Now, I told you many times that Kelly Ayotte, who was your Attorney General a couple back, and I'll post her profile, she became the queen of the corruption and the protection. Where did I tell you she came from? Mclane Law Firm, right? Now pay attention to Mclane Law Firm. I'm going to show you something here. But she protects their interests, and their interests are in the criminals. Right. So then we went to Michael Delaney. I'll show you that. He now works at Mclane Law Firm, and he was the Attorney General, protecting all this corruption. Okay? And Foster today. Foster, I'll post that. He again worked with Mclane Law Firm. In fact, he worked there for 29 years. That's what his loyalty is. Do you know what he's supposed to be doing now? Investigating the opioids that are not being disclosed from the hospitals. Right? They're not giving out that information. Good luck getting it from the cover team. Right. Now, so you're getting an idea of the AG's office. So let's go with Foster and build from that. Now, I went after the drug dealers in the state. You see me with Aganos, Cruz, and Griner, and Judge Delker's court. And then, in Judge Ruoff's court in Manchester, I'm up against Alex Walker, who's the lawyer for the Catholic Memorial Hospital. And trust me, there's no bigger drug dealer than that hospital, which is why you have Walker as your lawyer. Okay, so I'm going to the Walker, who's protecting the drug dealers, and the actual drug dealers who will be protected by Shaheen and Gordon, particularly Bill Shaheen, Steve Gordon, and we're going to have Tim McLaughlin becomes a very interesting piece in this. So let's go through. So let's start with the drug dealers. Okay? Judge Delker. Did you know that Judge Delker worked in the AG's office? He was an assistant AG. Right. He was also an assistant AG at the same time with his good buddy, Rosenberg. Now I'll post this. Jim Rosenberg, who with Will Delker, the head of the criminal division. Right? They worked together very closely. Now, Rosenberg is the general partner of Shaheen and Gordon. So Delker's good buddy, an assistant attorney general, also Rosenberg at that time, the assistant attorney general, right? Good buddies, is working at Shaheen and Gordon. So that in itself is a conflict. You ready for this one? Now Shaheen's attorney and Gordon representing him is Tim McLaughlin. Right. Now, Tim McLaughlin had a daddy. I met him, I'm a little surprised. But his daddy is Phil McLaughlin. You may sound familiar, but he was the Attorney General. Right. And you know who worked for him? You can see here, and I'll post it. He was the mentor. Right, he retired. You know his two pupils? Well, first of all, he was appointed by Gene Shaheen. All right. Tim McLaughlin's daddy, right? Phil McLaughlin, was appointed as the Attorney General of this state by Gene Shaheen. Or Bill Shaheen. Your choice. Not only that he was the mentor for guess who? Rosenberg and Delker. So you think about this. Tim McLaughlin, who's representing these drug dealers, he's Judge Delker is hearing the case. Judge Delker's mentor is Tim's daddy. And Rosenberg, Delker's good buddy, well, he's only the partner as Shaheen, and they're asking for $30 million. So you can assume his good buddy Rosenberg looking for a payday. See, there's no argument there. Take a look at that. They're all connected. Now, who was investigating this? Dick Tracy. Dick Tracy was the Manchester police captain before that. Right? Do we have a drug problem in Manchester? Oh yeah, the worst in the country per capita. These guys are doing a hell of a job, I gotta tell you. So in other words, you understand that this is incestuous all the way around. Now, what's the other angle? The other angle, I go after Walker. He only tried to have me murdered with these criminals. Right. I gave you the medical records from prison, and I'm working on this with Ritz-Carlton. They were a little anxious about getting it. I had to tell them I'm not going to sue them. But again, the 767 Russian nationalist breaking into my room, we're getting his name, and we're going to publish all of it. And I get the video, you're going to get to see that. But that's Walker. Now, who's hearing that case? Judge Ruoff. Now, you know where Judge Ruoff came from? You ready? The AG's office. At the same time. Right. As Delker and Rosenberg. Everybody's from the AG's office so far. Let's go on. So in other words, Ruoff from the same AG's office protecting the criminality of Walker, who's protecting the drug dealers. Right? At the same time, now take a look. Now, let's see the reach. Did you see that each and every one of them, including Richard Head, from that side, were all from Mclane Law Firm? What did I tell you? Mclane is running your AG's office. That's their piece of the pie. You don't have a piece in it. For instance, Shaheen's fighting with, for instance, Hassan and Ayotte. They're not looking for your interest. They're dividing up the state and the power within the state. Mclane owns the AG's office. Shaheen has these powers and so of manipulation through these departments. Now, do I remind you, you're going to see that I went after Walker. One of the things I was going after Walker is not just protecting the drug dealers, it's the money laundering of the drug dealers by the banking department of New Hampshire. Right. You're going to see the same Richard Head from the AG's office, same one from Mclane, files a suit for the state that I have to go to with the banking department. I put a video, follow the head. And you know who the representative is? Is this Mary Witt. Do you know what she refused to give her name, then refused to tell us where she was from? I'll show you a snippet of the video. She was from the AG's office. See? They're again protecting the banking department. That's how I met Walker, through the banking. So I know how they're covering it up and they're laundering money. It's the same information that I gave to the executive council. Remember Van Osteren and Sununu? Right. You get to listen to doing the laundry. Nobody's out of place. In fact, the banking department, Perlow, I'll put his face up there, right? Insurance defender out of the AG's office from Mclane Law Firm. See? Every piece that I'm just giving you is connected. Leahy, who gave the information of protecting Walker with the DRA, she's from the AG's office, right? Now, you know what she did too? She was taking all the criminal information I was sending to Washington, or I thought was sending to Washington, and Carrie Lemieux was sending it to her. Here's a signed receipt of her getting it. They corrupted the people that even work with me. This is an Attorney General's operation. That's how your state is controlled. Mike Gill, state of corruption.
Should we
Party.
disclose first and find out if there's conflicts right from the beginning before they start speaking about these situations?
I'd ask Attorney Wyant to just address that.
When
I'm
did you
not
do
sure.
that?
Excuse me?
When did you do that?
I haven't done it.
Okay.
I said I would ask Attorney Wyant to do that,
Thank you.
to address that. Although I'm not sure of the relevance of it.
Well, I can explain, and it's very relevant. I have multiple cases going on and cases with the Department of Justice in Washington right now. I've got witnesses with immunity right now. So it is extraordinarily relative. So I would ask you, what's the big deal?
Well, without answering that question, because I don't think I can, I'd like just Attorney Wyant to just address that.
Certainly. Well, first of all, since I'm not the adjudicator, I have no...
Could you speak up, please? I can't hear you.
Since I am not the adjudicator of this action, I have no requirement to be impartial. In fact, I am here representing the department, and therefore I'm not impartial in this action because the department initiated this action.
That doesn't sound like an answer, and it sounds like she's refusing to answer, which makes me think there's a conflict. Now, I'm just guessing. It wouldn't be with Mclane Law Firm, would it?
At this point, without getting into the rules of professional responsibility that lawyers operate under, I'm going to assume that the attorney representing the department today would disclose any conflicts that would prevent her to participate in these proceedings.
Then what would be the problem? She wouldn't know the conflicts unless she's said where she works, so I can determine and bring it to yourself to show you that it's a conflict. So why don't you tell us where she works, and I'll tell you if there's a conflict or not.
Well, first of all, Mr. Gill, it's not up to you to determine whether there's a conflict.
But it is by law if there is such a conflict. Now, if I do have these cases in and complaints in,
I know nothing about those.
well, I'm thinking this is why it's important to hear about it now. For instance, Richard Head from the AG's office, right, who's now in California, who I've got the banking notes and the corruption of FRM here.
I don't...
Well, wait a minute. See,
No,
this is where you don't understand the pertinence. The pertinence is that Head worked with Perlow from the Mclane Law Firm. So I have that as evidence. What I'm telling you, I've been leveraged with bogus complaints for years. We have the bogus complaints, right? I have the meetings. It was Perlow who I informed the Ponzi scheme FRM to while he was at the AG's office. So see, it's very pertinent to this. So if she wouldn't mind, would she like to tell us where she worked prior to this so we have it as a conflict?
You know, with respect to that question, I'm going to not press her on this.
Not press her. This is a very simple thing. It's on an internet. It's her profile. Is it a secret?
You know, it doesn't matter.
It does matter if there's a conflict.